All right. Next up, one of my favorite parts about my role in this community is I get to find about amazing founders first. So you're about to meet another one of those that I just met within the last month and a half. So coming out of nowhere, one of the coolest new apps I've seen recently is Statapillar. You're going to meet Robin. Robin, welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robin Tully. Unlike probably most of the people watching this, I am a data scientist by trade, and Python is my preferred programming language. Controversial statement here, but Redwood is great, and I chose it because having an opinionated framework has made it much easier to learn, and the last time I really did web development was back in the Rails days, so revisiting those patterns is really nice. The product I'm going to be showing you today is Statapillar, which is a friendly data analysis platform, the first step in accessible data science, or the 0th step if you're a developer. You upload your data, you pick what kind of business problem you're trying to solve, and we give you easy to understand results. So I'll be walking you through a demo of that. For this example, the thing we're going to be trying to predict is airline traffic. So we have monthly data about airline traffic that we've seen. So we upload the data in this kind of form in Statapillar. We see, and the date is December 2nd, 1960. So we have, 112,000 passengers on 1949. This is just a data preview, but we have a full data set that we uploaded with this form. We have the data view page where we see that we did have 144 rows of this data. And now we're ready to train a model, which I think is the interesting part. So that is this form. All we have to do to specify a model to train, once again, I want Statapillar to be as accessible and easy to use as possible. So we fill out a pretty simple form. We pick which kind of model we are trying to solve and some of the basic necessities of picking that kind of model or specifying that kind of model. To do a very brief overview of the kinds of problems you can currently solve with Statapillar, you can solve A/B testing style problems. This can be your standard kind of conversion rate for web traffic. It can also be anything where you have just measured successes in a total number of trials and you want to know which is the likely group to be the most successful. So if you were doing some sort of medical testing and you had this patient group received the treatment and recovered versus this patient group. Time series, which is what we're going over today, which is I have a measured thing over an amount of time and I want to make future predictions about it. And linear modeling, which is essentially the most advanced, where you have a row of observations of data and you're trying to predict a specific column of that data set based off of the other rows. So a common example would be I have data about house prices and I want to predict the price of the house based off of the number of windows in the city and all of that. Statapillar can handle all of those kinds of problems really in any domain. The product itself is agnostic to the kind of data that you're uploading. So let's look at one of the results pages. Statapillar works by performing thousands of simulations of what the future might be and giving you kind of the most common simulation results. It's kind of inspired by 538's forecasts, if you ever saw those. I find that to be a very accessible way to relate results to people who are non-statistical, because instead of having to say, well, I have a R-squared score of 0.04 and that's statistically significant, I can just say, in 80% of simulation results, we have between 1,200 and 1,400. And that means exactly what it sounds like, where I'm not going to get into this today, but there's a lot of debate in statistics about what do any of these metrics that most people generally share actually mean. So this first chart is our historic data. We see that, there's a peak airline traffic season in the midsummer. Then there's kind of a lull, a little early start of the year holiday bump. And we see that the data is kind of trending up generally over time. So this blue line is just the historic data that we have. If we zoom in here, we see the future predictions in these yellow, red, and green lines. So the yellow line is the standard prediction. One thing I would point out too is that even though the data we uploaded is just monthly, May 1st, 1960, June 1st, 1960, we can still make daily predictions about what the future might hold. So the yellow line are the averages. The green line is like kind of the upper, the optimistic situation. In the optimistic case, we think on December 2nd, 1960, we'll have 477,000 flights. And the red line is kind of the bottom threshold there, and that's adjustable through this slider here. Another thing I'll say is, let's say we wanted to look at December 25th, we had some use case where we particularly cared about that day. Maybe we wanted to make sure we were prepared for traffic on that day. So with our Data Explorer, we can just pick December 25th, and we're focused just looking at the results for that day. So we have 183 simulation results for December 25th that fall between 420 and 430,000 flights. We can narrow this in by saying, okay, well, I want a very narrow prediction. I want to say what's the most likely 20%. Let's just look at that kind of slim portion. So, well, 20% of our simulation results, the most likely 20% are between 422 and 432. Another use case we can do here is we can look at, let's say we wanted to look at, we had a plan for some downtime. We had to take some of the planes offline. So, and we wanted to do that over the New Year's weekend. So we can look at, December 31st through January 1st, seen here. And now we're looking at the total value of those 3 days combined. And we can say, well, we're most comfortable taking some of our planes into service if we're likely to have under 900 flights that day. So we can answer that question by saying 900 here. The lower value we're looking for is zero. And we can see, well, 20% of our simulations for the dates between the 31st and the 1st are under 900. And we can go to our boss and we can say, we're pretty, we were comfortable taking planes out of service if we were under 900,000 flights. Well, we're 18% likely to be in that use case. Maybe we should plan a different day to take some of these planes out of service. So that's the quick demo. If you, I'm in the MVP phase. If you would like to use this product and provide some feedback, either in self-service or you want to get on a call, and I'm happy to walk you through it. The website is statapillar.com, and I can be reached at robin@statapillar.com, ROBIN STATAPILLAR. Thanks to all the people watching this, thanks to the hosts, and thanks to the Redwood team.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. Really appreciate that. I love seeing those graphs and how it's able to make all those kinds of predictions.